Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys. I've been trading cannabis stocks for the last 14 years. We're going to check in on the sector this week as it warrants some attention, a little bit of upside action after a whole lot of nothing for the last 4 to 5 weeks. And there's some tailwinds now for the sector with regards to the broader market, which we will talk about. Bear with me. I'm in travel mode right now, exploring Utah. I'm on my no mouse pad here, but we're going to make it work. So first things first, I like to talk about the Russell 2000 with its relation to the growth sector and its relation to cannabis, psychedelics, etc. People really like to push back at me on this, and you just have to trust that I'm staring at this so many hours every week, so many weeks every year, that there's not many people in the world that are watching it more often than I am. And it's not, people will say, well, this is just because, we have the end of the comment period coming up. I think it's July 22nd. And we're anticipating that after that, it won't be long until we officially get Schedule 3. And yes, you can expect a bit of a run up into that. But it's not a coincidence that the largest green day for MSOS on Thursday, 8% or whatever it was, the largest green day since the big pump day back in the end of April. So we can say almost 2.5 months, largest green day. It's not a coincidence that happens on the same day. The S&P 500 is down, right? We know that when the S&P 500 is down, generally cannabis is down more. But IWM had its biggest breakout in months, if not years, looking back at this 2-day move that we've seen here. It's not a coincidence that those things are aligning. And you have traders like myself and traders in the Chart Guys community that see IWM gapping up on CPI numbers Thursday morning and buying cannabis right when the bell rings because there's no pre-market trading on these OTC names, and it's almost like a second chance to get a laggard bull move after we already have the green light from the data reaction and from the pre-market reaction of the Russell. So yes, this sector still needs news, but if the Russell is breaking out and there's rotation going on, and I've been watching for this rotation, I was early, I've been watching for it for 3 or 4 weeks, positioned bullish in the Russell, looking for the NASDAQ to sell off, to roll into the Russell, and that's going to be a tailwind for the sector as opposed to the headwind that it has been. Yes, if you want to break out, if you want a 50% move, if you want to break the highs of this year, you need headline news. But in the absence of headlines, having the Russell breaking out is going to favor this sector and help it more than it's been helped recently. So keep an eye on the Russell, IWM, this beautiful weekly equilibrium, bought the higher low. It's now broken bullish. We just hit 2.5-year highs in the Russell. And so the question is going to be, does this rotation continue? Can we climb back towards all-time highs? That's my goal for my swing trade. Took a little bit of profit into the move, and now I'm looking for another 10% to the upside to look for all-time highs. If that happens, we're then going to be looking for a blow-off top in the market. But I'll talk about that in another video. That will definitely impact all sectors across the market, but I'm not worried about that this summer. I'm keeping an eye out for it, but one step at a time. Russell needs to have a significant amount of rotation and play a lot of laggard catch-up, and that will benefit this sector. All right, MSOS. And just for disclosure, I still have TRUL and Green Thumb swing positions open after taking some partial profit into the last bounce and just letting it play out from here. If I'm going to add to those positions and go back to all in as far as my cannabis account that I have designated for cannabis, I need more proving from the bulls. And what I need is, first we need to confirm daily uptrend, right? We had a nice big bounce last time around. That bounce was almost 20%, and then we gave it all back. So now we have a nice bounce off the low, but we don't have a daily uptrend. 820 is the most important short-term resistance. From a weekly perspective, nothing changes if we're not getting over 820. I'm watching for the possibility that this is an inverse head and shoulders trying to shape up, where we have a resistance level, we drop to the lower low, we fail 820, we form the daily higher low, we confirm the daily trend change to try and get some follow through. From the weekly perspective, this is a bear flag that confirmed that has no follow through right now. And one thing I've been doing the last maybe 3+ years of my trading is focusing on flags that confirm with no follow through, looking for reversals. And what Lamont with volume profile would call that is a lack of acceptance. The price dropped down and broke below support. There was a lack of acceptance there. We shoot right back up above it. Clearly, the bulls are defending this support level in the upper $6 range. So still holding those swing positions, comfortable in profit and just looking to see, am I going to add? The big question is this summer low in? Are we now going to fade up and run into the vote and the Florida vote and, of course, the presidential vote? And the answer is that is possible. If the Russell keeps going up, if we get Schedule 3 official, the summer low could be it. We were looking for a slow bleed summer. We got 5 weeks of drawdown, 30% or whatever it was. And now, can this be a turnaround? Step one, confirm that daily uptrend. TRULEAF has a really nice base of support at $9. Very clear defense of this level. Just holding 901, 904, 910, 902, just clearly defending $9. Must get over 1080. That would be a great sign to get over 1080. If we get over 1080, we're back to 6-week highs, and the monthly perspective here is a monthly higher low trying to form. So it is still a long-term uptrend here. And if we get over 1080, the monthly higher low is set, and we're looking back at 1450, that high. Again, TRULEAF is going to have my focus for the Florida vote potential. But if we fail 1080, then it's just 1080 and $9. Which level breaks first? Watching those two. Green Thumb saw no real bull action this week. And this is a bit of a trade-off because Green Thumb had clear relative strength, 2 weeks ago, and Curaleaf had clear relative weakness. Now Green Thumb doesn't do much. Curaleaf plays a little bit of catch-up, and we're pretty much back to where we were. But same thing here as far as building a base of support, this weekly chart. For Green Thumb, we've got 1066, a lot of support in the mid to upper $10 range. So 1066, 1078. We know key resistance is up at 1291. Again, on the week, we're just going sideways here, not much going on. So all I care about are those two levels. Just mark the sideways ranges. If neither of these levels breaks, nothing is changing. And once one of these levels breaks, something significantly different will be happening, whether it's a bull break or a bear break. Curaleaf, as I mentioned, was weaker, dropping to a clear lower low, but it also recovered, and it's trying to get over its bounce high initially, which was 427. And we did break it by a couple pennies. So again, just balancing things out a little bit. No, we do have a little daily uptrend there, but need to convincingly get over 427 and then go to the weekly. And what do we need on the weekly? We need an eventual trend change. Bounce for a while, top out, hold the higher low, confirm the weekly uptrend. If this is indeed going to be these longer term higher lows from the summer lull trying to be set. Some of the higher listed names. So we've been keeping an eye on HITI, and it had relative strength for a while. It did give some of that back, but there is a clear support to play off of. And again, just playing off support when you know your risk is small because you have your clear invalidation level. For example, what do I mean by that? TRULEAF, I'm going to buy at $9.10. If we break $9, I'm going to sell. I'm going to risk just over 1%. If we don't break $9, the bulls defend support convincingly. I've got a nice position. That's a clear statement, a clear thesis, and I got a clear invalidation point for where I would stop out and exit. Same thing on HITI, where we can look at this low of 192 and say, if that level breaks, that's a red flag. But if that level holds, we're just going to do our good old-fashioned equilibrium and look to tighten up on this weekly chart for a while. And so there's a potential play off of that support level. And I always give a little bit of wiggle room. I'm not going to put my stop at, for this example, this is hypothetical, but I'm not putting my stop at 191. I'm putting it at 189. Just, a nice round 190 level, put it right under that. Little bit of wiggle room in case we break support with no follow through. But just an example of establishing a thesis based off a support level and a clear invalidation point, because the majority of bag holders in the sector were fundamentally driven that did not have an invalidation point, because it's much harder to have an invalidation point fundamentally than technically. Technically, it's just a number. Fundamentally, are things really a lot worse? What's the balance sheet? I mean, you're not reading, I won't say you, but the vast majority of people aren't reading balance sheets in this sector. We know that. Let's keep it real here. SNDL. So I can put on bull glasses and bear glasses for this chart. I put on my bull glasses. I say, great, we've got a nice hold of support. And that level was 175, and we held it by a few percent and had a nice bounce. The lead higher listed bulls this past week were SNDL and ACB, standing out most convincingly. But so bulls held support. That's great. What do we need now? We need a 50% plus bounce retracement. Right now, we got a lot of work to do. We got to get back up to 50% plus. Why? Because if it's 382 or less, it's a potential bear flag. If that were to happen, what would it be? It would be a head and shoulders. There's my bear glasses. Okay, that's a potential weekly head and shoulders bearish pattern. And if, what would happen fundamentally to make that play out or help it play out? It would be no, bad news with Schedule 3, no word from Schedule 3, whatever. But I don't think that's the most likely scenario, but it's definitely still possible. If you get up over that 50% plus bounce retracement, you then have the space for the tightening range to hold that higher low. So need to keep heading higher, but we did go straight up. So bulls a little bit tired. If we look for a pullback, best case for the bulls, hold daily EMA 12, set the higher low, keep it going to get that 50% plus bounce retracement. But one thing is certain, we have a very clear base of support here that was defended. ACB, again, solid big week on this move up. Daily chart, it's straight off the lows. So we don't have a clear convincing daily uptrend at this point. But we had bear exhaustion, we got to daily oversold. Essentially the way it played out is the US names got their weekly bounce underway when I made my long entries in daily oversold conditions. And then we had the higher listed names get their weekly bounces underway as laggards. Usually it's the other way around. Usually money goes into the higher listed names first, they pop first, and then it spreads out into the junk OTC listed names. But in this instance, the weekly bounces started in the OTC names and MSOS first, and then they came into these higher listed names. So again, same deal, ACB, it's a nice bounce with worthwhile gains. What's the bounce retracement? And we have to confirm weekly uptrends at some point with a higher low and higher high if we're going to recover in a meaningful way. CGC is still very weak at this point, still a weekly stair-step bounce that isn't even underway yet. We've set a lower high every week for the last 8 weeks, 2 months in a row. So you could be looking at this and saying, well, I'm going to keep an eye on CGC to potentially be a laggard. And if the bulls can get over 685, then maybe they get their weekly bounce underway with a bit of follow through. So that's a key resistance. But again, it's a long road. We got to bounce on the weekly, get a significant retracement going, and then confirm that trend change. If it's an insignificant retracement, it can still be a 15% bounce off the lows and drop to the lower lows. So you've got to create the space for those trend changes. TLRY, talked about this one on Dale's report as far as the clear support level that everybody can see from space. 160 to 165 has been defended time and time and time and time and time again. And it held again. We dropped down to 161. Again, thesis, I think 160 support is going to hold. I make an entry. Let's say it's not a great entry. 168. I'm risking 8 cents. Well, we'll make it 10 cents. I'm risking 10 cents if support breaks. And my reward is multiple times more than that. Here we are up 20 cents, risk 10 cents. Great. That's a good risk reward ratio. I can sell half my position at 178. I'm in 168, sell half 178. Put a break even stop at 158. If this support holds, I've got a great position. If it doesn't, I don't lose a dollar. That is my style of trading, but you gotta, make some attempts at key support, have clear invalidation levels, have your thesis clearly laid out. Same deal, nice bounce, gotta set up an eventual weekly uptrend. Whenever we top out, need that higher low and higher high to try and recover. But again, one thing is for sure, just like SNDL has a clear weekly support level, TLRY has the most clearly defined support level out of any name in this sector. It's not necessarily, it's good from a technical standpoint, and it's good from a trading standpoint. Doesn't mean it's the strongest just because clearly it's a lot weaker than many other names over the last few months. But one thing is for sure, there's a line in the sand that the bulls are defending. Psychedelic names also benefiting from the Russell here. We've been talking about how MNMD is grinding this $7 level. We're looking for a monthly higher low as the most likely scenario. I don't have my zoom on this, apologies. But we're looking for the monthly higher low. We did dip below, again, lack of acceptance. We dip below 7, we shoot right back above it. Same deal, we've got to confirm the daily uptrend as the next step. So whenever this move tops out, higher low and higher high, confirm the daily uptrend, and we go to the weekly. We eventually will need a weekly uptrend, but a thesis that can be laid out for the bulls is this is the monthly higher low. This is either 660 is either the monthly high or low, or I'm wrong. And you make your entire game plan based off that thesis. Next daily consolidation, well, 660 is a bit of a ways away. I'm going to use 671. I don't want quite as much risk. Next daily consolidation, I make an entry. I put my stop under that level, and I look for the bulls to try and confirm the daily uptrend to try and make the first baby step. A daily uptrend confirming is the first baby step for a monthly high or low forming. And so that is what the bulls need to do. So many names in this sector need daily uptrends, MSOS, and many others. We need daily uptrends to confirm. We eventually will need weekly uptrends. We're looking for news at this point. So all we care about is, of course, price levels and trends. What's the Russell 2000 doing? Is the rotation continuing? If you look at IWM divided by QQQ, which shows relative strength or weakness between the Russell and the NASDAQ, it was the most green week in at least 3 years. That is very notable, and we'll see if it can keep up. And of course, do we get, after the comment period, do we get rescheduling official news into the end of July? Again, I've always thought late summer, early fall if they're going to hold that headline, but that's just a wild guess. Other than that, we're watching the polls in Florida. I'm not really paying attention to those until end of summer, August. Mid-August, I'll start paying attention to any poll numbers that come out regarding Florida. But again, the setup is there where if we keep rotating into the Russell and it keeps breaking out, and of course the broader market keeps heading to all-time highs as it has been in true euphoria fashion. And again, watch a video I put out sometime in the next 2 weeks about what I feel is going to be a blow off top in this market that will lead to an easy 30% pullback eventually, whether that's in 2 months or 6 months or whatever, I don't know. But that's how these kinds of moves end, just like 2021 topped out. But the table is set for the possibility. Let's see, probabilities. So I made a prediction. I thought the low was set when we got the HHS headline initially, and that has held true for now. And now, what's the probability that the summer low is in? I'm not ready to go out on a limb. I have positions in case it is. There's a high enough probability that I want to hold these positions for that possibility. I still got, I'm half in and half cash in that account. So certainly not, all in aggressive at this point, but I'm going to say probabilities that I feel the summer low is in. I guess I'll go 55%. It's a coin flip, but I just really like what the Russell did this week. Been waiting for that for a while. And again, if we can get some positive word on Schedule 3 sometime in the next 3 weeks, that would be really nice timing with what the Russell is doing. All right, starting to ramble now. Establish those theses, those game plans that get clearly invalidated. The most important thing as a trader is looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I was wrong, and cutting those losses and making those, remedying those mistakes and not doubling down on them. All right. Hope you're well. Do good things. We'll keep an eye on the sector. Let's see if I'm going to add from here continued Russell strength and a confirmed. I'm not even consider going aggressive in this sector until MSOS is in a confirmed daily uptrend. All right. See you next time.